which is part of the problem with town meeting, is because of the time lapses between meetings, you're fixing problems instead of looking at things that are potentially coming down the road and putting things in place so you don't have to fix them. Mm-hmm. And this is what's happening right now. And that's why a town planner is critical, because you can't have a board of volunteers, as best as we can do, be able to take care of all these things on a part-time basis the way it is. You know, and these things come to us, and it's usually the problem's there, and you have to fix it. And a lot of times you can't fix it.
All right, now, I know this is a hard question. I really don't mean to put you on the spot, but...
No, you love getting in trouble.
What's that?
I love getting in trouble.
Excuse me. How, in the economic times that we're in, we have practically no employees left in the town.
We're tight.
And if we were to... What's that?
We're tight.
Yeah, we're very tight.
Yeah.
How would people like council members and things like that be paid? Where's that money going to come from?
The town council members, again, with the
as well as the mayor.
With the presentation that we gave, you know, on the last one on Saturday, we actually laid out and showed that the present government we have as of today, as far as the administrative end of the government and the new version, was basically a wash. I think it was within $500 as it was. And
wait. Run it by again.
If you take the administrative part of the government, I think it totals out about $793,000 that we have right now. The new version, laying out the employees and stuff, as far as the administrative end, is actually, I think, was like $500 less in total.
How could that be if we're paying council members and things like that, as well as a mayor, $100 and some odd thousand?
Well, remember, you have town meeting expense, which goes in there, which you don't have anymore.
Okay.
Okay. You have basically you have a town administrator. You really have an assistant to the selectman, which was the ex-interim town administrator in there. You have 3 administrative assistants working in the office as well. And when you figure it all in, it actually comes out within a few dollars, which is what we said it was. We actually raised the pay of the mayor somewhat in the final version 22, as right now. There'll be a 23rd version coming out shortly. We had it at one point like at $65,000, then went up to the same salary as the current town administrator, and we ended up going back to $95,000. The total, I think, is 44,000 or 46 for the town councilors in total.
Okay.
So it actually comes in, like we originally said, it would come in about the same, and that's assuming also that the mayor is going to hire a chief of staff, which is going to be like a town administrator as far as skills. You know, if you get a really strong town, mayor who has those skills, then he may have a chief of staff, which is at a lower value.
Right.
But we're not planning it there. We're looking at the more expensive end result.
Okay. And have you brought during your meetings? Have other people brought up that little?
Oh, that's been brought up.
Or is that a major sticking point?
No, that's one of the things that people have brought out through other websites and stuff, discussing, saying it's going to cost $500,000 more. I think it's been $700,000 more, and the figures just don't compute with anything. Again, other cities or towns, especially the towns that have gone to this form, have allowed the mayor to really streamline the government as much as possible and really change the departments. Wareham had, I think, 19 department heads at one time. I believe they have 11 today. As example, Braintree, which is one of the most recent ones that changed a couple of years ago, had a lot of department heads. With the new reorganization, they did a what's called a forensic audit of their whole system, and they ended up with 5 department heads. It's a lot less expensive to run the town if you have a few department heads that oversee it with supervisors than having every department having a department head, because then you go from a $50,000, $60,000 salary up to $80,000 to $90,000. So there's savings there. That's part of, I think, how Braintree in particular, who had much more staff than we did, was able to trim 23 people out of their staff.
But why can't selectmen do that? Or selectmen form of government, I mean.
Selectmen can't. Town administrator can.
Yeah, I don't mean the selectmen themselves.
And the town administrator is, we talk all the time. So the things that we're putting into the charter that we have for the new form, we basically talked to him as well, and we're talking about implementing some of these changes because they can be done. The problem is that he's locked in by charter into how things function. It's not that easy just to say, okay, I'm going to eliminate these departments and change them around. You just can't do it that simply.
So it's the charter that sets that out.
The charter and what's in place already. If you have a whole new setup and you give the mayor a clean slate, as an example, where you don't pre-list, you have to have this department, that department, this one. In the charter, it gives the mayor the ability to actually put together something that would work more streamlined and maybe more efficiently. I mean, in a lot of places, towns, you might have 4 or 5 what I will call mini DPWs, where each group has their own service department, like schools service their buses, maintenance services their buses, their trucks and stuff. Harbor master has stuff. It may go to maintenance, it may go elsewhere. Police department. Instead of having one central place where everything gets done under one group, and then you have like a maintenance schedule and you have a maintenance plan and everything, you know, for all these vehicles. Because of lack of funds, which is a reason people don't do things. We don't have money, so we can't do anything. You can't do that, because what happens is if you don't follow a maintenance schedule for your equipment, you find that your whole infrastructure of equipment all of a sudden 5, 6 years down the road is in terrible shape.
Junk, right?
Well, right now, because of capital planning, we're trying to get a capital planning statement out to the public for the town meeting, which we're probably going to have a gross figure of over $60 million in needs over the next 5 years. Out of that 60+ million, I believe the state, through different programs, grants, whatever, will probably reimburse us back at least $28 million.
We need some too.
Well, we all do. If you have any spare, I'll take it today. But what happens is that you have 2 elementary schools that are really online to get either replaced, renovated, or expanded, depending what they want to do. You've got a police station there. The Council on Aging is looking for its own separate facility to better handle the seniors. One of the things we presented at the last Saturday's discussion and stuff was that it shows Wareham has a higher than average senior population compared to the state.
Why does that not surprise me?
It doesn't, but again, it just shows that we have more of a need than, you know, some other places seniors, and it's going to grow. It's not going to go. It's not going to decrease.
Right.
You know, it's just what our population base is. It just shows certain things, which just reinforces what we think we know anyways. Right. Which is interesting to see. But there are things we need to do, and you can't sit there and say, "Well, I can't afford it, so let's not plan for it." Because then, when you really need it, and some money comes down the line, if you've made no plans, you can't put it into effect. It's like the stimulus money that came up. If you had, and I hate to use the words shovel-ready projects, you could have had a chance of getting some money. If you had done nothing, then you aren't going to get nothing. Right. So the basic philosophy is if you do nothing, you'll end up with nothing. Right. And we need to do all these things now. So this plan, 5 years, which will show all these things we need, we have to figure out how do we finance these? Do we go out and get bonds to underwrite some of them? I mean, you have maintenance department with equipment going back to the 1970s. These are all safety issues. Never mind they don't work well. Never mind that you're constantly spending a lot of money for repair work, and you can't get parts for things. And you know, it's just all over the place. We have building issues, everything. Yeah. It's tough because it's the worst time possible with the economy the way it is. Yeah. To have to sit there and say we need these things to do. Right. Because everybody says we can't afford it. Look what's happening
with the potholes on the roads, even.
That's all over the state.
We don't even have a crew.
Well,
I mean, we got one, but.
You have to give the maintenance department a lot of credit.
I do give the maintenance department
those guys
they have been pretty good at finding them, but you know there's just tons of them out there.
Oh, I know.
There's more work than.
Well, this has been one of the worst winters for because we haven't had the real bad freeze, but we've had the water. Right. In particular, that water gets into any kind of opening and then lifts up when it does freeze, and it makes potholes. And this has been probably the worst year I've ever seen.
Yeah,
it's all over
the state
this way.
Seeing. Yeah.
You know, you go into Boston, you don't lose a wheel, you lose half your car.
Yeah, right. That's absolutely true.
At least here we only lose a wheel.
Been there just recently. Yeah, absolutely right.
And they're expensive
Cambridge,
wheels.
Same thing. Yeah. Somerville's ridiculous.
But again, with the current town administrator we have, they're looking at ways to make things work and not basically. And I don't want to insult anybody, but you can't put your head in the sand anymore, and you can't let another phrase you hear all the time is kick the can down the road for the next troop that comes in. Well, the can has hit the wall and come back and hit us in the head. It just can't do it anymore. It's over. So we have to find ways to. You have to recognize here's the problems we have. It's perfectly okay to have problems. Let's just go fix them. Let's figure out a way to solve them. Right. Because the idea of pointing fingers or saying it's that administration.
That's not getting anywhere.
Not getting anywhere. You're wasting energy. Right. You only have so much energy to give. Might as well do something positive with it. Yeah. So I mean, that's the whole idea of this. Right. If people don't think they want to change the government, it's okay. We're making an attempt to give them an alternative. Right. It's as simple as that.
Right. If they don't like it, they have a chance to vote it down. So.
Well, they have 2 chances technically.
What's happening on the